Welcome, everyone. This is Sueur County's first ever safety training for watercraft inspectors. My name is Holly Kelbis, and I just want to introduce myself a little bit before we get started here. I work for Sueur County in the Environmental Services Department, and one of my responsibilities is to administer and coordinate the Aquatic Invasive Species Program. I've been with the county for about 4 years, so you might see me out and about doing site visits or just popping by to say hi throughout the summer. Okay, so the purpose of this training is just to provide additional safety information about a few different topics. One of them is weather, one of them is heat, and lastly, just you as the watercraft inspector yourself when you're doing watercraft inspections. This is above and beyond the required training that the DNR provides, but over the years we have had conversations about whether or not this should be added, and it seems to be pretty beneficial with other watercraft inspection programs. And so this training should take about 1 to 2 hours. I highly doubt will last the full 2 hours. And it's also recorded, which is how we're viewing it today. So if you want to go back and look at the information later, you are more than welcome to do so. All right, so let's get started with our first topic, weather safety. So just be weather aware when you're out on at an axis. Obviously weather can change on a dime. You can look at your phone if you need to. I would make sure that you check the weather forecast before you go out on before your shift, during your shift, just to make sure that things haven't changed, because thunderstorms in Minnesota or lightning, tornadoes can pop up last minute. So just make sure you're checking the weather periodically throughout the day. There will be instances, like I said, where storms will move in pretty quickly, and those you might be able to wait for it to pass and then carry on to do your finish your shift. But then there will also be instances where storms might move slowly. In those cases, you might have to call it a day. So you'll just have to again check the radar, use your best judgment. Quick moving storms, typically don't last more than a half an hour. I would say that's been kind of my definition, at least, of quick moving storms. But if you're going to be out there for a few hours waiting for pass, it might be something better for you to just call it a day. Thunderstorm safety. So I'm going to have a ton of different videos today, so it might be a little wonky as far as moving back and forth between sharing the presentation of the screen, but a lot of them are through the National Weather Service, and they just provide a lot of good information. I'm by no means an expert for weather safety, so I thought it'd be better to just demonstrate and show some videos about what you should and shouldn't do. So with that, there is a link. I'm going to exit presentation mode and then share our share the video here. And I just need to make sure you can actually hear the sound. All right, so we'll just watch all the videos when they come up, and then I'll just do maybe a quick summary of a few of them, but just think they're good. Most of them aren't super long. This one might be one of the longest one. It's 6 minutes long. So let's watch the video.
Weather that could impact you while providing. We are kicking off Severe Weather Awareness Week with thunderstorm safety. Each day this week will feature a different element of severe weather that could impact you while providing helpful information on how you can better prepare and be aware. The following information was prepared by the National Weather Service Atlanta Forecast Office. Thunderstorm formation occurs from three main ingredients: moisture, instability, and lift. Much of our moisture in north and central Georgia comes from the Gulf of Mexico or South Atlantic coast in the low to mid levels of the atmosphere. Instability is the ability for low-level warm air to accelerate upward while denser cold air replaces it downward. Lift is needed to trigger moist unstable air upward and begin thunderstorm development, which is commonly provided by cold and warm fronts or even gust fronts from other thunderstorms. The type of thunderstorm that develops depends on the strength and behavior of the wind shear in the environment. This is the change in wind speed and direction with height across levels in the atmosphere. Supercells and squall lines are the two main types of storms that typically become severe or have the most hazards associated with them, and will be described in more detail in the next several slides. So what is a severe thunderstorm? Well, we define it as a storm producing at least 1 inch diameter hail, which is quarter size, or having wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or greater. Severe thunderstorms are sometimes also capable of producing tornadoes. It is important to know that we do not issue warnings for lightning. However, we can issue a significant weather advisory for frequent lightning and also strong winds below severe limits. A squall line is basically an organized line of thunderstorms that can be driven by the downdraft of heavy rain and cool air, which pushes out ahead of the rain in the form of an outflow boundary or gust front. It is common to see a shelf cloud forming above the cold outflow, shown here in the top right picture, as warmer, moist air rises above and condenses. If you see this, then there's a good chance of experiencing damaging straight-line winds, as this is the primary threat with squall lines. There's even greater potential for damaging winds along bowing segments of the line, shown in the bottom left. Hail and weak tornadoes are also possible with these systems. Supercell thunderstorms also commonly present severe threats. These are individual, long-lived, rotating storms that often produce large hail, tornadoes, and damaging straight-line wind. Tornado potential is greatest near the backside of the storm, identified as a hook echo on radar imagery, seen in the bottom left. As north and central Georgia frequently experiences severe thunderstorms, it is critical to be aware and prepare. One way to be aware is to understand the differences in our hazardous weather product definitions. A hazardous weather outlook is a product routinely issued that highlights the potential for various hazards during the next 24 hours and through the rest of the week. A watch is issued when conditions are becoming favorable for a weather event. Significant weather advisories are issued for strong thunderstorms that may strengthen to severe limits. A warning is issued if the weather event is imminent or occurring. A way to take action in preparing for thunderstorm safety is by following this ready, set, go concept for when outlooks, watches, or warnings are issued with a particular event. During the outlook stage, check your plan of action and make sure there's an area ready for you to take shelter in if needed. If a watch is issued, you should monitor weather conditions and stay tuned to information resources like TV or radio. When a warning is issued for your area, you should take shelter immediately. Such preparedness and action should result in more lives saved. So what are some helpful tips to stay safe if a thunderstorm is threatening your area? When dealing with the threat of thunderstorms, the best thing to remember is, when thunder roars, go indoors. You should get inside a substantial shelter, preferably in a low-lying location with as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Stay away from windows and avoid contact with any electrical or plumbing systems. If you can't make it inside, then a hard-top vehicle is the next best choice. As a rule of thumb, you should wait at least 30 minutes after the last thunder is heard, or until the warning or advisory has expired before outdoor activities are resumed. If a hail threat exists, you would want to be inside a sturdy building away from any windows. A vehicle doesn't always protect you from hail, as golf ball size or larger can break windshields. If you're wanting to measure the hail and report the size to us, then please wait until the thunderstorm has passed before venturing out. If you are able to safely measure and report the hail size, then we want to hear from you. Please send us the largest stone size you can find, even if it is below the severe criteria of 1 inch. The chart shown includes objects matching particular hail sizes to aid in the estimation of stone size. Your reports could help in additional warnings or updates with providing information that could help save lives. Maintaining access to these example resources will help in heightening your awareness to Outlook, Watch, and Warning products. Be sure to always have at least 2 ways to receive our alerts. Our website is a great resource to monitor current conditions and receive forecast information in various forms. Some examples are pointed out here. If you have any questions or would like to send us reports, then feel free to contact us. We are available 24/7 by phone or online. Find us on Facebook and Twitter too.
right. So I know that one was kind of geared a little bit more towards um, Georgia and Florida, but I still think it had a lot of really good information and basically still applied to us. There will be a video that will kind of go more in depth if you, because we most of the time there might not be the best of shelters available for you to take cover other than your car. So there is a video that kind of talks about if you are out in the open, what to do. My advice is if you think it's, checking the radar, and if it's going to be super severe, just go find a place that has shelter. You can always come back. I mean, like I said, there isn't going to be a lot of areas where you're going to have a cover. There might be some pavilions and whatnot, maybe at the access, but there isn't going to be a lot of areas. So just if it's something that's going to be really severe, you should, I would go find shelter and make sure you have an idea of where to go. So lightning. Oh, and the other thing I want to talk about with thunderstorms too, to point out, it's that good rule of thumb. If you hear thunder, um, wait at least 30 minutes before the last thunderclap that you hear before you go out and go back to your shift. If you hear thunder within the 30-minute time frame when the clock starts, you're going to have to reset it and keep waiting. So at a certain point, it might not be worth it. I've had instances where I've been out in the field and thunder's around, in between the 25-30-minute mark, and then you got to sit there another half an hour. So that's a really good rule of thumb, and it keeps you safe, because even if you can hear thunder, there is lightning that is nearby. So that's the significance of that. And so that leads us in a good segue to our next topic, which is lightning safety. Again, I have a video from the National Weather Service that I will share. So like I said, I apologize. This is going to be a little wonky just because I got to share in between screens here. So in the video, but good information. This video is 4 minutes long.
Welcome to our presentation on lightning safety for Severe Weather Awareness Week. From our other video on lightning, we know that lightning forms from the separation of charges in a thunderstorm cloud. A stepped leader then develops downward towards tall objects on the ground, and a streamer reaches upward to meet it. Here are some lightning facts. Nearly 1,800 thunderstorms are occurring at any moment around the world. That's 16 million a year. 100,000 thunderstorms occur each year in the United States. Of these, about 10% are severe. Thunder is the shock wave created by the rapid expansion of air in the lightning channel, and lightning heats the air to 18,000 degrees Fahrenheit, which is hotter than the surface of the sun. Lightning poses many dangers, not the least of which is the danger to personal safety. The good news is that the overall survival rate from lightning strikes is relatively high, around 90%. However, many of those struck receive serious and sometimes long-term debilitating injuries, including severe burns and nerve damage. Other safety risks posed by lightning include damage to electrical equipment and the potential to ignite fires in structures which have been struck. One of the most important things you can do when planning activities outside during the summer is to have a plan should threatening weather approach. Check the weather forecast to see if thunderstorms are predicted for your area. Know what you and your family will do should storms approach, and be informed of where available shelters are. This may be as simple as running inside your home or taking shelter in your vehicle. However, it may be more complex, such as remaining within just a few minutes of shore and safe harbor if boating or fishing. It's all about planning and being informed. During a lightning storm, there are a number of things you can do to protect yourself and your loved ones. When indoors, stay off corded phones. You can use cellular or cordless phones. Don't touch electrical equipment or cords. Avoid plumbing. Do not wash your hands, take a shower, or wash dishes. Stay away from windows and doors and stay off porches. Bring in your pets. Dogs chained to trees or on metal runners are particularly vulnerable. When outdoors, seek safe shelter indoors or in a car if a permanent shelter is unavailable. Avoid large open fields and water. Avoid tall objects like isolated large trees. Avoid higher exposed areas such as mountaintops. Wait 30 minutes after the last rumble of thunder before resuming activities. As a last resort, if you are caught outside during a lightning storm and are unable to make it to shelter, one of the best methods to protect yourself is to assume the lightning safety position. Crouch down on the balls of your feet with your feet together. Tuck your head downward with ears covered. If you're unfortunate to be struck, this position will help the charge flow through your body quickly into the ground where it will disperse. However, as with any lightning strike, safety is never guaranteed. Follow these steps if someone has been struck by lightning. Call for help, such as 911. Anyone who has sustained a lightning strike requires immediate professional medical care. Check the person for burns and other injuries. If the person has stopped breathing, begin CPR. If the person is breathing normally, look for other possible injuries and care for them as necessary. People who have been struck by lightning do not retain an electrical charge and can be handled safely, so do not hesitate to help them. For additional information, please visit these websites, including more videos on severe weather on our YouTube channel. And remember, when thunder roars, go indoors. Thank you for viewing this presentation on lightning safety. For more information, visit us on the web at www.
Okay, so again, just and you're gonna see this kind of as a reoccurring theme. If you know, make sure you're weather aware, make sure that you have a plan of action. Like she had stated in the video, 10% of the thunderstorms are severe, so most of them aren't going to be, but it's still good to have a plan of action. And as I mentioned before, there's a good chance that you won't have some type of shelter available at these accesses. So your car is kind of your next best bet. But I would say if it's something where you're uncomfortable and you're not feeling safe, you should go seek shelter. And that's going to be kind of up to your judgment. But most of the storms, like she mentioned, aren't severe. So hopefully you don't have to encounter that too much. Tornadoes, I did want to mention or bring up tornadoes too. Again, probably won't happen, but it's still good to cover. So there's a couple videos. There's going to be kind of during a tornado and after a tornado. There'll be two different links. So once again, stop sharing here. And we will watch a few videos on tornadoes. Let's see. Okay, so this is what to do during a tornado.
If your area is under a tornado warning, act now. You may only have a few minutes to get to safety. Seek shelter immediately. Go to a safe room, basement, storm cellar, or the lowest level in a sturdy building. If there is no basement, go to the center of the building and away from windows and doors. Put as many walls as possible between you and the outside. Get under a sturdy object like a table and cover yourself with pillows and blankets. Use your arms to protect your head and neck. A helmet can offer some protection too. If you are in a car, drive to a shelter immediately. If there isn't enough time and you are caught by extreme winds or flying debris, park the car as quickly and safely as possible, out of the traffic lanes. Stay in the car with the seatbelt on. Put your head down below the windows. Cover your head with your hands and a blanket, coat, or other cushion if possible. Do not park under an overpass or bridge, and never try to outrun a tornado in an urban or congested area. If you are outside, find the lowest point on the ground and lie face down. Use your arms to protect your head and neck. And most importantly, watch out for flying debris. It causes most fatalities and injuries. Safety is job number one. Get weather ready.
Okay, so that was just a quick video of what to do during a tornado. I really like this video because it covers, you know, if you're outside or in a car, which is something that you'd be more likely, I guess, to encounter when doing watercraft inspections. Okay, so that was during a tornado. So now we're gonna watch what to do after a tornado.
After the tornado has passed, continue to monitor your battery-powered radio or mobile device for emergency information, and cooperate fully with public safety officials. Keep your family together, and wait for emergency personnel to arrive. If you are trapped, try to attract attention to your location. Use a whistle or flashlight. Cell phone towers may be down, so send text messages rather than make phone calls. Check for injuries. Do not attempt to move seriously injured people unless they are in immediate danger of further injury. Do not remove helmets from injured people. If someone has stopped breathing, begin CPR. Stop a bleeding injury by applying direct pressure to the wound. Be aware of possible structural, electrical, or gas leak hazards in your home. Stay away from power lines and puddles with wires in them. They may still be carrying electricity. Watch out for nails, broken glass, and other sharp objects. Nearly half of all tornado injuries occur post-storm, so use extreme caution to avoid further injuries from debris and damaged buildings. Tornadoes can cause millions of dollars in damages. Make your emergency plans ahead of time and take the necessary precautions to stay safe during and after a twister. Safety is job number one. Get weather ready.
All right, so again, I forgot to mention this with the last video. The reason why under a bridge and overpass isn't safe is because it's actually you're more likely to get injured from that falling. So again, shelter is the best place, and there is limited access to shelter at Watercraft accesses. So just make sure you know of a shelter that's nearby in case weather does become severe. Okay. So there is one, I think this is the last video of severe weather safety. Again, these videos are just short and sweet, but I just think they do a really good job summarizing basically what to do and when severe weather occurs. This does talk about what to do if you are outside. And again, that's why a lot of these videos were chosen, because that's gonna be the case for watercraft inspections. So I think this is the last one for the severe weather part.
Lightning is one of the most underestimated weather hazards. If you can hear thunder, you are within striking distance of lightning. That's your cue to take shelter, preferably in a house or a building. A car with a metal roof and sides is your next best option. Once inside, stay away from electrical appliances and only use landlines and computers in an emergency. So when is it safe to go back out? Stay put for 30 minutes after the last rumble of thunder. If you're caught outside and you are unable to reach shelter, stay away from tall trees, poles, and wire fences. Try to find a low-lying area. If someone is struck by lightning, call 911 immediately. They'll be safe to touch, so don't delay CPR if necessary. The telltale sign of an approaching tornado is a dark sky that often has a greenish tint. You may note a strong, persistent rotation in clouds, hail, or heavy rain followed by a dead calm, or an intense shift in the wind. If you see these signs, take shelter in a sturdy building. Once you're inside, move to the lowest level. If there isn't a basement, move to an interior room or hallway. Stay well away from windows. Flying glass and debris is the #1 cause of deaths and injuries resulting from tornadoes. For more protection, get under something sturdy, like a heavy desk. Or sit against a wall and protect your head with your arms. Never get into a vehicle during a tornado, and don't try to outrun one. If you're caught outside, lie flat in a low area and cover your head with your arms. Contrary to popular belief, you should not seek shelter under a highway overpass or bridge. Tornadoes and other storms can seriously damage power lines. Assume downed power lines are both energized and lethal. If one falls across your vehicle while you're driving, remain inside and try to drive away from the line. Warn people not to touch the vehicle or the wires. Report fallen lines immediately. Inland floods are one of the leading weather-related causes of death. with almost half of these fatalities involving a person driving their vehicle through a flooded area. People often feel powerful and protected behind the wheel, but it only takes 2 feet of water to float most cars away. Do not drive in flooded areas. Traveling afoot isn't always a safe option either. A mere 6 inches of moving water is enough to sweep an adult off their feet. Move to higher ground. The likelihood of making it through a severe weather event unharmed increases when you know of an approaching storm in advance. Make it a habit to stay up to date on weather forecasts. Likewise, stay prepared by keeping a fully stocked emergency kit at home and in your car. Remember to familiarize yourself with the emergency plan at work. Create a plan for your home, and don't forget about those who may need assistance during an emergency.
Okay, so I just thought that video was a good summary. Again, reoccurring theme, just make sure you check the weather, be aware of what's going on. That's the biggest takeaway. With that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else covered. Outside it, laying down and covering your head are the biggest things. Hopefully it doesn't come to that point. If you're going to seek shelter, that's what you should do. I believe that was and the flooding. I want to talk about the flooding real quick. So water has been pretty low last year, which was abnormal because it's been pretty high the multiple years before that. So there is a potential that some of these excesses are in like flood prone areas. I know the lakes, there's some roads in particular that flood when the water's high. So just be aware of flooding, and if for some reason the access is flooded out or the road to get to the access is flooded out, don't drive through it. Probably won't happen, but it does happen at sometimes when it's really wet. So just something to be aware of. But more than likely won't happen to you. The other thing I want to talk about was heat safety. I thought that was really important, and I think this is a topic that we tend to forget. I do have a couple videos on this. Again, we forget about heat. Make sure you bring plenty of fluids with you to stay hydrated. So 1 water bottle probably isn't going to be enough, especially when it's really hot. So things like water and Gatorade, Powerade is best. Soda, juice, things like that have a lot of sugar aren't going to be as good as water and Gatorade. Just make sure you're drinking tons of water. I would recommend bringing a cooler with every day. And I would bring some food too, just in case, extra food, just keep you, if you get lightheaded or something like that, that might help with your blood sugar. Don't forget sunscreen. That's another big thing. You don't want to get burnt. And you should be applying about every half hour with your sunscreen. It doesn't seem like it, but you can tell when your body gets crisp. You all know that. So just make sure you're bringing sunscreen and drinking plenty of fluids to stay hydrated, because heat stress and heat stroke is a real thing, and it's getting worse with the climate warming. So just please, I can't say this enough, drink enough fluids, and don't forget your sunscreen. Hats and sunglasses are another great thing to bring. And if you can sit in the shade during a hot day, go for it. Like, that's what I would do. If there's a nice tree by the access and it's really hot, sit under there. If there isn't a tree directly near the access, and you're kind of limited, maybe you want to take a break throughout the day. You could sit in your car, turn on some air for like 10 minutes or something like that, or just go sit under a tree to seek some shade. Don't feel like you have to sit out in the hot sun all day long. Like, make sure you're taking breaks and sitting in the shade and cooling off. So we don't want you to be getting heat stress, heat stroke, things like that. Okay, so there are, just like I said, a few safety videos, and these are actually from OSHA. So we're going to watch these. I think these are the last videos, actually. So I will stop sharing my screen once again. Okay, let me see what we got here. Okay, so these are just 2 more quick videos, and then I just have a few more slides to finish up.
Summer is here and it's getting hot. As temperatures and humidity rise, it's important to be prepared for the dangers of working in the heat. Dozens of workers die every year due to working in the heat, and thousands become ill. Most work-related heat deaths occur in the first few days of working in the heat. That's why it's important for employers to allow workers to gradually build that tolerance to the heat, whether they are new, temporary, or even seasoned worker. Heat illness can affect anyone, no matter how old you are or what shape you are in. Symptoms include headache, nausea, dizziness, weakness, irritability, confusion, thirst, heavy sweating, and a body temperature greater than 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit. But heat illness can be prevented with 3 simple steps: water, rest, shade. Drink water every 15 minutes, even if you're not thirsty. Rest in the shade to cool down. Wear a hat and light-colored clothing. Workers can stay safe and healthy if we watch out for their health and remember 3 simple words: water, rest, and shade. Taking these precautions can mean the difference between life and death.
Okay, just a quick video there. I can't emphasize enough about taking breaks in the heat. I've gotten a little bit of heat illness myself and you just feel kind of icky. If you feel that way, I would go home. I mean, you're going to be sick and you don't want to make it worse. So like I said, if you just drink enough water, rest, and make sure in the shade, just like the video says, take breaks like that will prevent you from getting heat illness. And here's the last video. And this one looks like to be the longest one, so bear with me on this.
Whether we're working outside under the hot sun, inside a busy factory, or bundled up against the cold, physical exertion can make us hot and sweaty. And the hotter our workplace becomes, the hotter we can get. This strain on our ability to keep cool is called heat stress. Our bodies are strong, flexible, and capable of performing a variety of demanding tasks. But heat stress can interfere with its natural processes. When this happens, the results can be serious, even fatal. In this program, we'll look at how heat can stress the body, the different types of heat-related illnesses that can occur, and how to help someone who has become dangerously overheated. We will also discuss what you can do to stay cool when the heat's on in your workplace.
Running's the best way to lose weight, right?
I apologize for
That's
this. I
actually
don't know why.
It's actually the other way around. What
This
you need to
ad
do
is
is
popping up.
stop running on the treadmill. Stop doing cardio. Because what it's actually doing is making your body hold on.
Well, there, skipped it.
Sometimes it's because of the weather. Sometimes it's the physical tasks we perform, or even the nature of the facility we work in. But it's not unusual for us to get hot and sweaty on the job. Being overheated is not only uncomfortable, but it makes any job more difficult, and it can also affect our health. Fortunately, our body has physical processes that kick in automatically to help keep us cool. For example, the circulation of our blood can help to lower our body temperature. As our temperature rises, the circulatory system directs more blood flow to the surface of our skin. There, the blood gives up the excess heat it has absorbed to the air. Then it circulates back inside the body to pick up more heat. As the process continues, heat is pumped out of our body. When more cooling power is needed, our sweat glands go to work. They move heat out of the body in the form of warm water. The evaporation of the sweat cools our skin off as well. It's an effective system, but it does have a downside. Sweating depletes our body's supply of water and the vital minerals known as electrolytes. Running low on these substances can cause our body to malfunction. In extreme conditions, we can sweat out up to 1 quart of water and electrolytes an hour, which makes us thirsty. But we can't rely on our natural thirst alone to get us to drink enough to rehydrate ourselves. We need to make a conscious effort to take in even more liquids. So you should try to drink 5 to 7 ounces of liquid every 15 or 20 minutes when you're sweating. Sports or electrolyte drinks can be a good option because they're formulated to replace the minerals that you're sweating out as well. But avoid drinks that contain alcohol or caffeine. They will only accelerate your water loss. Some medicines can do the same thing or have other adverse effects when you're overheated. Ask your doctor about any medication that you take to find out if it could cause problems when you're working in hot conditions. And watch what you eat in the heat as well. Hot meals raise your internal temperature. Heavy foods require more blood to be used for digestion, when that blood could be helping to cool you off instead. So stick to light, cool meals when you're working in the heat. Whenever we work or play in the heat, our body's natural cooling processes work hard to prevent us from becoming overheated. The greater the heat, the harder those processes have to work to cool us off, and the more likely they are to get out of whack. When these natural cooling defenses break down, we are in danger of developing heat-related illnesses, including heat syncope, heat cramps, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke. For example, sometimes when our system tries to cool itself off by directing more blood to the skin, the other parts of our body can get too little blood. This can cause a person to lose consciousness or faint, a condition called heat syncope. Warning signs include dizziness and a rapid heartbeat. Heat syncope often occurs in people who are new to working in high heat conditions and can lead to serious injuries if the victim falls or loses control of a tool or vehicle when they faint. When we sweat a lot and fail to replace the vital minerals or electrolytes that we're losing, we can develop another heat-related illness known as heat cramps. Symptoms include painful cramping as well as involuntary jerking or spasming of the muscles, often in the calf, thigh, and shoulder. When our body runs low on both electrolytes and fluids, the result can be an illness called heat exhaustion. In addition to intense thirst, a person suffering from heat exhaustion may feel confused, dizzy, weak, and uncoordinated. They will also sweat profusely. Heat stroke, on the other hand, occurs when the body's natural cooling mechanisms break down completely. As a result, the victim is unable to sweat. Their skin will be flushed, very hot and dry. Other symptoms of heat stroke include a throbbing headache, rapid heartbeat, nausea, and vomiting. Heat stroke causes a person's body temperature to rise uncontrollably, which is extremely dangerous. This can cause damage to internal organs, including the brain, and can even be fatal. When you're experiencing any type of heat stress, it's important to pay attention to what your body tells you. If you ignore the symptoms of one heat-related illness, such as heat cramps, it can quickly develop into another one, such as heat exhaustion or heat stroke, which can be a lot more serious. Even when we do our best to protect ourselves from the heat, it is still possible for working in hot conditions to knock us for a loop. When that happens, it's important to know how to treat heat-related illnesses, because they can be serious, even life-threatening. Let's start by reviewing how heat can affect the body. When we get overheated, our system uses the sweating process in order to carry heat out of the body in the form of warm water. However, at the same time, sweating constantly depletes our reserves of water and vital minerals, electrolytes. If we don't make a point of replacing these substances, the lack of them can cause us to develop heat-related illnesses, such as heat cramps, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke. When a coworker develops a heat-related illness on the job, you need to address the causes directly. Get the victim out of the heat and into a cool environment. Have them sit or lie down and rest. Cool them off by bathing their head, face, and neck with cool water or applying wet towels or sheets. And give them cool water or an electrolyte beverage to drink. If possible, bring the victim into a shady, air-conditioned area. Remove any outerwear they have on and loosen any tight garments. If you think they may be experiencing heat stroke, call for emergency medical assistance immediately. With heat stroke, it's also critical to lower their body temperature as soon as possible. There are several ways you can speed up the cooling process, including applying cold compresses to their armpits and groin, wetting down their clothing, directing a fan on them, placing them in a cool bath, and using ice or cold packs. You should stay with the victim and continue to cool them down until the EMTs arrive.
After saving with customized car insurance from Liberty Mutual, I customized
Brad,
everything.
apologize.
Like Marco's
Hold on 1
backpack.
second. All right, get back to business here.
Even though we often can't control how hot our work environment is, there are things that we can do to help handle the heat by preparing for it ahead of time. This can not only enable you to work more comfortably, it also helps you avoid the hazards of heat-related illnesses. For example, whenever possible, you should take a gradual approach to working in a high heat environment. This gives your body time to get used to the temperature. The average worker may need from 5 to 10 days to get fully acclimated, particularly in environments that are extremely hot. People who are in good physical condition can generally get used to high heat conditions more quickly. They can also perform better in the heat because their body and its muscles are lean and toned. When a person is overweight or has a lot of fatty tissue, their body's cooling system has to work that much harder to keep their temperature down. Choosing the right work clothes can be important to staying cool as well. Loose, lightweight clothing made of cotton or cotton blends helps you get rid of excess heat by allowing the air to circulate freely around you and wicking away much of your sweat. The color of the clothing you wear makes a difference too, especially if you're working in the sun. Black or other dark colors actually absorb heat, so you should avoid wearing them. Wear white and other light colors instead. They help keep you cooler by reflecting the heat. The same principle applies when you wear a light-colored hat to keep the hot sun off your head. And don't neglect the sunscreen. It not only prevents sunburn, it helps prevent the sunshine from heating up your skin as well. Remember to wear sunglasses too. Keeping the sun off your face and out of your eyes both protects you and helps you to feel cooler. If your work takes you into areas with intense levels of radiant heat, your employer may provide you with special protective clothing, such as reflective garments made of aluminized fabric. Another option is ice vests, which are often used by firefighters and other workers who are exposed to high heat. Your supervisor can tell you what type of protective clothing is best for keeping you cool and safe on the job. If you're working indoors, temperatures can sometimes be reduced to safe levels through the use of cooling
All
equipment.
right, I don't think we're gonna watch this little bit here because that's for indoors and it's not really applicable. I think we'll just stop the video here. I think it went over a bunch of good information. Basically, make sure you're, again, bringing fluids. I would pack extra if I were you, and then if you have a cooler, I would even pack maybe some extra ice or ice packs. I think that'd be really helpful as far as staying cool. Make sure you're wearing like colored shirts, hats, sunglasses. Definitely bring the sunscreen. All of that is really, really important to keeping you cool and safe, and just take breaks. I can't emphasize that enough. This is something you really don't want to deal with. But if you don't feel good, I would get to a cool place and just go home. Like it's not worth your safety. The severe weather, the heat, anything is just not worth your safety. So make sure you're taking care of yourself, but also being prepared. So the last little bit of slides I had here were just about watercraft inspections. So I want to talk a little bit about aggressive boaters. I don't have any videos for this. There really wasn't anything great online to give you information, but I just want to talk about it. You do not have to stay at the access while someone's being aggressive to you. You don't have to take that. You don't have to be there and deal with that. It's not appropriate behavior to begin with. Just leave. That's what I would do. Don't stay there. Um, it's not worth it. I myself have, from personal experience, have been yelled at a lot of times in my job, and it's not fun. So just, if I were you, if someone is being very aggressive to you and is very upset, go in your car and just go for a drive. You can drive around the lake or maybe to a different access or somewhere else. Just leave for a little bit and come back. I can't emphasize this enough. Just leave. You don't need to take that. Unfortunately, we've had a few instances within the last couple of years of boaters being really aggressive towards inspectors, and then they end up quitting. And I don't want that to happen to you. So, like I said, if someone is being belligerent and aggressive, please just leave. Another thing, if you do need to call someone like a family or friend or something to feel more comfortable because they are being aggressive, you can most certainly do that. Just make sure you're hands free when you're driving. If this is something where it's gotten out of hand or made you feel really uncomfortable, I really encourage you to report the incident to the Sueur County Sheriff's Department. The thing is, then they have documentation, and so if you have an ID of the person, the vehicle, license plate, all that, because then we can report these incidences, and then hopefully, if this becomes a reoccurring issue, this person will stop doing that. So just, if it's something that really makes you unsafe, I think you should report it. I know there's a couple instances where a couple years ago, and kind of didn't find out about it till later, and it's better to report it than not, even if they just write up a report and not necessarily do anything. But they are there to help. There is a sheriff's deputy that is on patrol all the time, just kind of drives around the county. And then there will be sheriff's department staff who will be also doing inspections. Typically their inspections are Thursdays through Sundays. So there is someone around to come check on you. So just make sure you call the sheriff's department if it's something that makes you feel unsafe and uncomfortable. And just don't try not to take it personally. I know I struggle with this too. If people are being aggressive towards you, they're just mad about the laws and the rules. It's not necessarily you, even though they might make it that way. So just, I know it's really hard, but just shake it off. And like I said, you don't have to listen to them yelling at you. So I just encourage you to leave. That would be the best thing to do. Oh, and yeah, I skipped ahead a little bit. And then also, even if it's not aggressive, but something uncomfortable behavior. So if they're saying inappropriate language to you, if they're intoxicated, if they try to display some physical behaviors or just something that makes you uncomfortable, again, you don't need to stay at the access. The same rules apply. Just leave immediately. You can, again, take a drive around the lake, go to a different access somewhere else. If you need to call someone, please do so. And make sure you're reporting the incident to the sheriff's department. I can't stress it enough. Again, if you're uncomfortable for any reason, you should leave and make sure you report it. Okay, so I do have some contact information. This is the sheriff's department, and I'm just going to leave this page up. There's a main phone number and dispatch. I would recommend calling dispatch first because they're the ones who are going to contact that deputy that's on patrol. But you can also call the main phone number as well. And then here's my office number and work cell phone number. I don't typically work on weekends, so more than likely that's, my numbers are going to kind of not be useful, at least on the weekends. During the week I'll be around, but I don't usually work past 4:30. So, but just some contact information, or if you have questions, you can always call me. That's pretty much all I have. I guess the last thing I wanted to really emphasize with kind of everything we covered today, with whether it's weather, heat, or just some uncomfortable, aggressive behaviors by boaters, is that your safety is the #1 priority. So just make sure you're taking care of yourself. If you are uncomfortable, if the weather's bad, if you're not feeling well because of the heat, you need to take care of yourself. So never feel like you have to stay at the access if your safety's threatened, endangered, whatever it may be. Make sure you're taking care of yourself, but at the same time, making sure you're prepared too. So there are things you can do to prepare for weather, for the heat. Aggressive boaters kind of out of your hands, obviously, but just making sure you're taking care of yourself. But we don't want you to be uncomfortable. Safety is my number one priority and should be your number one priority. And so, yeah, well, thanks everyone for coming to the training. Again, hopefully it wasn't too boring or too terrible. I just thought it'd be helpful. Past years, we've had a lot of kind of issues with safety, so I just thought it'd be good to kind of reemphasize it and cover some topics like weather, heat, and just aggressive boaters in general that maybe just need a little bit more in depth and more detail. And yeah, well, hopefully we'll see you out at the lakes and enjoy your summer. Thanks.